I will. All right, I'll start recording the meeting. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Veronica Oplins. I'm a co-chair of the Center City Residents Association Zoning Committee. Our fellow co-chair, Janice Woodcock, can't be with us tonight, so she asked me to hold down the fort. Welcome to the Center City Residents Association Zoning Committee. The CCRA is a 72-year-old nonprofit civic association. As a nonprofit, we encourage everyone to become a member, which can easily be done through our website. There are several benefits to being a member, one of which is being notified of all proposed zoning changes within our area. The CCRA is a recognized registered community organization, RCO, for our area. Our boundaries are from South Street to John F. Kennedy Boulevard and Broad Street to the Schuylkill River. Our committee works as follows. First, applicants are to present. We ask applicants to address the specific refusals or referrals. We ask for no interruption as applicants give their full presentation. After the presentation, the zoning committee will have a chance to ask questions. After the zoning committee's questions are completed, we open the meeting to the community. When addressed, we ask that you state your name and address. We ask that you keep your questions succinct and to the variance being discussed. We also ask that people not repeat others' questions. If you agree with someone's position, you're welcome to simply state that you agree. If there's a spokesperson for neighbors, we ask that this person speak for the group. After we hear from all applicants and listen to the community comments, our committee meets in closed session. We vote in 3 ways: oppose, not oppose, or not oppose with provisos. The CCRA never votes in favor of any application. Our decision is mailed to the councilperson, the ZBA, and the applicant. Important, no matter how we decide, if you are concerned with a project, we strongly recommend that you attend the ZBA hearing. This is the best way to make your concerns known. The CCRA Zoning Committee cannot express the neighbor's point of view. Only a property owner or aggrieved individual may express their personal concerns to the ZBA. With that said, our first applicant is for 327 Smedley Street. And I am going to read the application along with the refusal. The application is for the erection of a rear addition to an existing attached structure. The size and location are shown on the plans. No change to existing single-family household living use. And the reason for refusal is for 14-3056. A non-conforming structure is not permitted to be expanded or extended where the expanded or extended area does not comply with all provisions of 14-701 dimension standards. Per table 14701-1, the minimum required open area for the RCA 5 zoned lot is 200 square feet, 25%, whereas the proposed addition reduces the non-conforming open area from 159 square feet, 19.9%, to 149 square feet, 18.6%. And just on a note, this application was presented at the May 25th, 2021 meeting, but a decision was deferred at the applicant's request, pending discussions with neighbors. So I think I see Peter Elsbeck here. So Peter, I'd like to turn this over to you, and I will set the screen settings so that you can share your screen if you wish.
Sure, thank you. And thanks for taking time out of your evening to meet with us. Brendan Kelly, the owner of 327 Smedley, is also here on the phone with us. And if you'll remember back in May, many of you were probably in attendance for that meeting as well. We were requesting a small variance for additional space on a non-conforming bay window at the back of Brendan's home that he purchased on Smedley Street. Let me pull this up real quick, and I'll pull up the material that we showed at that time to refresh your memory. If I can direct your attention to the plan over here, this is a second floor bay window at the rear of the property. Currently, it's angled off at the side here, which was the result of a large tree that used to be in this location. that has since been cut down prior to Brendan's acquiring the property. We're asking that we be able to square off this bay an increase of about 10 square feet so that the room inside could be square and that we could build the bay window in a standard way, that probably the way that it would have been built had this tree not been there in the first place. There's another photograph that we had showed at the time of the current condition and the rough extents of where we're proposing to add onto the bay. As you can see, it's a fairly minor addition, but at the time, the neighbor, Joy, had participated in this call and was asking more information about how this would affect her property. And there was some discussion about that, and we were asked to kind of take that conversation offline so that we could save everyone time and try and work something out outside of this forum. And in the time since we saw you last, we prepared a brief solar study, trying to understand better the impacts of what this tiny addition would do in terms of sunlight projecting onto the adjacent property. Brendan shared that that study with the neighbor via email, and then followed up a couple times too across the past couple months, and has unfortunately not heard any response. So we're coming up on our actual ZBA hearing and had to make the decision to come back to you to show you again what we did, present the solar study to you, and ask that you not oppose this as we go into the actual ZBA hearing. Does anyone have any questions about the actual addition before we move on to showing the solar analysis that we did? Or should I just continue on and keep things rolling?
Yes, please go ahead, continue on. Great.
All right, so we looked at it at the 2 equinoxes and then the solstices, which is fairly common of an analysis like this. And from 9 a.m. until 4 in the afternoon. And for the sake of clarity, I've included red boxes around the instances where there are actual changes to the profile that aren't otherwise occluded by adjacent houses, buildings, or trees. And I've also taken the original profile of the shadow in that hourly study, drawn it there, and then projected that down onto the post variance condition to show the difference between the two. And I think I'm hoping, as you'll see in most of these images, that the difference is very minor. And we hope that that will be something that you'll also find equally minor. So there were 2 right around noon and slightly before on the spring equinox, as you can see. And obviously there would be the hours between this interpolated too. So you can imagine the difference between these. It's just cumbersome to create one at a 5-minute interval, for example. Just overwhelming amount of information. But as you can see, the difference here is very different, or very, very minimal. The main concerns that the neighbor had were whether there were going to be differences in the amount of light that was cast into the rear yard or onto this rear window. Moving on to the summer solstice, when the sun's highest in the sky, this is the largest impact from 11 to 2. And you'll see additionally here that when there are areas that hit the adjacent yard or the window, I've highlighted it in red to bring additional clarity to the difference between the 2 instances. As you can see, they're very, very minimal. Again, here, less. Also important to mention, I believe, although not illustrated in this diagram, that when there was a tree here, the 20 to 24 inch caliper trunk would have cast a shadow pretty much the same as this, in equal proportions to this, possibly even more. So we don't believe that increasing this is creating an additional hardship in the area that wasn't there maybe 5 years previously when this tree was in place. Again, the fall equinox, similarly minimal, very slight change in the angle of the sun coming across the back of the home. And then moving on to the winter solstice, everything is occluded either by the adjacent building or by some of the tree cover or houses to the east. So overall, a simple study, and we hope that it illustrates the minimal nature of this impact, and I'm willing to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Does that wrap up all of your comments?
Yes, unless Brendan has anything to add to what I've put out there.
No, that was great. Thank you, Peter.
All right. Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Brendan. So now what I'll do is I'll move through the committee and ask whether the committee has any questions. So I'll just move through the committee list. Ben Zuckerman, can I start with you? Any questions?
I think we should first see if there are any members in the audience who have anything to say or any questions or any input.
Thank you for that point. Are there members of the audience who have any questions that they wish to put forward? Okay, hearing none, I will move to the committee then. Ben, may I start with you?
Yep. No, I think it's pretty clear. I have no questions.
Okay. Robin?
No questions.
Okay. Is Evan with us?
Yep, no questions.
Okay. Doug?
No question.
All righty. Jacob?
No questions, thanks.
Okay. Michelle? Any questions, Michelle?
You're muted, Michelle.
Thanks. Yes, I do have a quick question. If the presenter can go back to the second set of comparative slides.
This page?
Yes.
Mhm.
If you can bring up the bottom left.
Sure.
And then if you compare that with the part on the right, okay, you put a little bit of the red
Mhm.
on the section on the left. It looks like more or less a square,
Mhm.
and more or less a triangle on the right. But I see a lot more, and I'm assuming the gray area is the shading.
Mhm.
It looks like there's a lot more shading on the right over and above the little triangular area. In other words, the facades
Mhm. Sure.
of the building look shaded. Can you explain that?
Correct. Yes. Sorry if that wasn't clear. The concern that was raised was about area that was hitting the yard and the windows on the back of the home, not necessarily the wall on the back of the
Okay,
home.
yeah.
So I had highlighted those areas in particular where we were, just trying to bring attention to where the impact was, where there was a concern.
So isn't that window more fully shaded on the right than it is on the left?
Michelle, this is Ben Zuckerman. I think you should be comparing it with the square directly above it.
Yes, it's the one above. I'm sorry.
Okay, all
So
right.
this red line right here is the current condition. That's the same red line there. And then we're trying to show anything outside that line is the difference that would
I
be
see.
brought about
Thank
by
you.
the change.
Thanks.
And
Okay.
the same thing with the little triangle on the right.
Yes, right. Okay. No further questions.
Sorry if that wasn't clear enough.
Must have been clear to everyone else but me. Sorry.
All right. Well, thank you. Ben W.
No question.
Okay. Bob Lane.
No questions.
Is Jonathan Hunter with us? Okay, I don't hear him. Flora? Flora, are you muted?
No, I'm unmuted. I have a question about the tree.
Sure.
How long ago did the tree come down?
We,
And how old, if you know, was the tree?
well, I don't specifically know. I believe the tree came down about 4 years ago. Does that sound right to you, Brendan?
It does. One of the neighbors told me it was about 4 years ago. And obviously I've only owned the home for maybe 6 months or so, probably not even, but apparently it was a massive project to get it out. There was a crane involved. I wasn't familiar with it, but it was a massive tree. And it was several years ago. I guess it had died and it was becoming a hazard, and so they removed it.
All right, I have no other question.
All right, thank you.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Rick, is Rick with us?
Yep, no questions.
Great. Charles?
No questions.
All right, Steve, Ruben?
No questions.
All right, well, we have run through our committee list. I'd now like to ask whether there are any members of the community with us who have any questions that they would like to ask. Okay, well, in light of that, it sounds like we have a very short meeting and we've reached the end of our discussion. So Peter, I'd like to thank you for having presented to the committee. And I'd like to also thank Brendan for having come and presented as well, or been present. And so what we'll do now is we'll move into closed session and we will make our decision, and then that will be communicated to you.
Great. Thanks so much. We appreciate you taking time out of your evening for us. Have a good one.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Peter and
everybody.
Brendan.
Bye-bye.
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 Okay, well, I'll stop recording.
Forget to